Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to the Aurum podcast, where we discuss all matters in relation to the workplace. Welcome to this new month of November. We're in the first Saturday of November, and we want to say Happy New Month to all of you, as much as it has been 6 days into November, and we are glad that you could have taken time to join with us. I'm your host. My name is Anthony Kuria. And we are with a familiar set that we normally have every week. My co-host and the in-house HR consultant, Zipporah Kuria. Welcome, Zippy.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning.
Yes, and our familiar favorite guest, the LVCT HR and Admin Manager, Madam Martha Thuku. Welcome, Martha.
Welcome, viewers, and thank you, Tony, for the invite.
Sawa. Wow. As you know, this year we've been discussing various issues, various topics, and we've been talking about many things. As you've seen, Martha has come. She's joined us. For those of you who might not know her, Martha is the LVCT HR and Admin Manager. She's what you'd call our external HR expert. She comes to help us with thorny, knotty issues that relate to HR. As I said, that we discuss everything that regards the workplace. And today we have a topic that we probably discussed earlier. If you took time to listen to us in the course of this year, we've been talking a lot about issues to do with employees, their wellness, just the wholesome aspect of employees. And this month, we want to revisit the topic of employee wellness. And just, both from an employee and an employer perspective, just bring in certain insights that we felt it's important to go back to discuss them. Now, for those of us who are joining us for the first time, the Aurum podcast is hosted by Aurum Consultants. And Aurum Consultants is a human resource and risk advisory consultancy with a focused attention to resolving difficult human capital and business challenges. Now, employee wellness. Let me start with Madam Zippy. We talk about wellness. Wellness has become a new catchword. There's so many catchwords in business. Like we were heard last week. HR is even now being rebranded as not as human resource, but as human relationships. And I'm sure that will catch on with time. Yeah. Our guest last week really blessed us with fresh insights. Now, when it comes to employee wellness, I guess it's something that is coming up into the public conscious, especially after what has happened the last 2 years with the pandemic that has hit globally. Now, employee wellness is becoming an integral part of how we manage business. Hiyo sentensi tunaweza kuikanusha ama tunaweza kuikubali? Zipi? Probably you can tell us.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Employee wellness. It's true what you're saying. Employee wellness is becoming an integral part of what we do when it comes to the workplace. And when we are talking about employee wellness, we are talking about the mental, the physical, the emotional well-being of every employee. And I think here when we are talking about employees, we also need to include the top management. One of the things I've realized a lot of times we talk about employees, and the management, of course, is part of being the employees of any organization. So we are talking about our wellness at the workplace and how we need to make sure we maintain that good health. Because if we are not healthy, then of course our business will suffer. And one of the things it's important for us to know, we need to do different things to just make sure that aspect of wellness is taken care of. Yes, there's a core business of what you're supposed to be doing, but what do we do to make sure we are taking care of our health, we are taking care of our relationships, we are taking care of basically how we feel about ourselves. And a lot of times when we are not when we are not healthy, when we are not well, it trickles down to what we are doing on a daily basis. It affects our productivity. It affects our relationships with other people. It affects how we look at ourselves. And you start finding we are carrying a lot of baggage. We are stressed. We become sometimes unapproachable. And sometimes it's not always all that bad. It's about how do we manage our wellness in totality, not just physically but emotionally. Looking at it from a place of our emotions and our physical well-being. Yeah, you're looking at it from a total perspective. How do we make sure, as individuals, as employers, what do we need to do to make sure we are taking care of ourselves? And I think that is basically what we are saying when you're talking about employee wellness. So I'm not so sure whether I have kanushat your sentence, but that
Mm.
is what I would say in a nutshell.
Wow, wow, wow. You have affirmed the statement. Umekubaliana na sentensi that employee wellness is becoming an integral element in how we manage staff. Martha, what's your perspective? Being in the corporate world, what's your perspective of that statement?
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, our viewers. This is a topic that is dear to my heart because, as I have been saying in the podcast, in LVCT Health, we are the leaders in mental health issues, supporting corporates, supporting individuals, supporting families in this matter. And that's why I always say that every time you have a need, as far as this issue is concerned, if you contact Aurum consultants, they will link you up with me and we will be able to support you. So as I will agree with Zippy on this matter, so hatukanushi topic, we are all in agreement because my thinking is how an employee feels both mentally, emotionally, and physically. It's really more than a HR issue.
True.
And so, from a workplace point of view, employee wellness programs are those programs that organizations undertake in order to improve the employee well-being and even to feel like they're supporting whatever issues they have. It could be workplace issues or it could be home issues. Now, COVID came, and it's not that these issues were brought by COVID. For me, it means that they were there from the
Yes.
word go. It's just that they were really not kind of, they were just in the background and people were suffering. Vehicle, But COVID came to bring into light exactly what is happening both in families and in workplaces. Anthony, you can imagine how, like the 2020, where there was lockdown, we are not going to work. I mean, you must have found yourself with your wife in the house and children constantly. I mean,
Yes.
this never happens
Yes.
because most people actually spend time out there than home. When we go home, we go to really sleep, and over 8 hours of your time every day is spent outside. Now, can you imagine spending that time with your spouse? And we love our spouses, so
That's true.
I'm not kind of sharing that. But you
Yes.
can imagine you are waking up as a husband, and you can imagine a husband waking up, showering, and going to the door and realizing, oh, I can't go out.
Yes.
And it's not one day, it is not 2 days, it is not a week, it is not a month, it
Yes.
is the whole aspect.
Yeah.
So that brought out what we have actually been experiencing. It also brought out the status of our health as far as families is concerned. We got to understand who are happy to be with their family and who are really would want to use that time to go out, to be away from their families a bit and come home later. We also
Yes.
found out that even some wives, they feel nagged when the husband is still just around and asking for tea every 2 minutes and water to drink, and all those small things.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then they ended up bringing out what we have. And that's why it is it's a fundamental foundation for a home and an office, that there is a mental health stability for all those things to happen. And for me, I feel like COVID-19 is one aspect. We don't know what to expect tomorrow. So it has
Sure.
been a lesson for the world. I mean, it was not Kenya alone. And so when now the matters of mental health have come up, organizations have also come up on how to curb these things before they explode. Some are exploding, Tony. You can see how children are burning schools.
Yes.
That is an area of mental health. And who can educate you how to handle yourself under such so much stress?
Very
So
true.
here we can just agree that it's a fundamental foundation, even for the growth of the organization, for the
Yes.
stability, for the
Yes.
sustainability, for the profitability, and
Yes.
having employee wellness programs in
Yes.
organizations is critical, because then it helps you mitigate. There's a saying that saying prevention is better than cure. So
Sure.
if
That's true.
every organization have something they are doing day to day, however small, towards this area, and having
Yes.
a program in their policy
Yes.
working towards employee whatever programs, then
Yes.
you'll find that the impact will not be as much for individuals, individuals as it has been for now. Also, then it impacts on the organization in form of productivity of employees.
Yes.
I mean, when I am disturbed, how productive can I be? You get?
Very
And
true.
then those people, those organizations that have good employee programs of wellness, you'll find out there they are talked about very well.
That's true.
So the corporate image is enhanced when you have these programs. So for me, those are the few things I can touch on, the importance of employee or employee wellness becoming integral in staff management. The fundamental issue is it should not be left to HR. It should be a strategy and in the policies of the organization driven from the top. Because truly, as we move on, it's an integral part. And yesterday was COVID. We don't know what
Yes.
tomorrow it will bring. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Yes.
Wow.
Just to pick up from what Martha is saying, I'm just thinking on top of my head, when an employee has a challenge, and this is from an organizational perspective, there's always an
Yes.
expectation from that employee. The employee is sick, for example, and maybe they are sick because there's been so much pressure at work, they're unable to handle it, and this has led to many other challenges. You will find there's some expectation. Sometimes it will probably be, they're going through personal issues that are affecting how they perform. There's some expectation probably from the employee on the kind of support they expect from their colleagues, the kind of support they expect from the employer. So when you're talking about employee wellness, it's something we cannot run away from, because at one point or another, you will find there's a need and someone is having a challenge that needs to be addressed. And the question is, it becoming an integral part of how we manage our staff members, then what do we need to do as employers? What do we need to do as HR? What do we need to do as managers to make sure we are taking care of our people?
Ladies, you've already preempted my second point. But before I go to my second point, I want to tell all that our listeners and our viewers that if you do want to comment, you can always send your comments directly to the live chat. We are live on Facebook. So if you have any comments or questions, kindly feel free to send your comments or questions or views, whatever it could be, even as we continue chatting, even as we continue having this podcast, so that we can incorporate them as we continue discussing. Now, Martha, you've said something there that uh, you've kind of preempted what I was about to ask, but I'll still ask it anyway. You've said something that employee wellness should be part of a company's strategic plan. That part of their strategy ought to be, there should be a part that discusses employee wellness. because for them to understand, for any company to understand that employee wellness is really the company's wellness. It's a way, in fact, I can bring the risk aspect of it into the picture. It's a way of de-risking the issues that may come up. As you say, November 2019, when there was a kabag happening someplace in China, we did not think that it could affect us here in Kenya the way it did. But you find the companies and individuals who somehow had prepared during the years, like Joseph of the Bible, they had prepared during the years of plenty. Many of them were able to cope. Now that we are in the period, the season of, you could call it the 7 years of drought, if you could call it that way, that the biblical Joseph went through. That those who have prepared well, those who had set in this aspect the issues to do with employee wellness, have been much better at coping with the same, unlike entities that probably did not prepare at all, that did not have an idea what they would do if this kind of situation happened. Now, the question, I'm saying that both of you have preempted me, the thought that I had, but I'll still want to hear from you, is then can we probably explain a bit further, why is employee wellness important in any workplace? Let me start with you, Martha. Let me hear, because I've heard a few points that you have thrown in there. Probably you could re-emphasize them again. You spoke about uh, uh, small steps being taken for employee wellness, things to do with strategy, being employee wellness being part of the strategy. Probably could that and a few more. What you could tell us why it's important in the workplace.
Okay, thanks, Tony. And the why is, as we said earlier, employee mental health, both physically and emotionally, and everything that comes with it really can impact both positively or negatively to an organization based on
Yes.
where the stability of that person mentally. You
Yes.
know, Anthony, you can have people at the workplace and all you have is working zombies, and it's
True.
because they need this pay at the end of the month.
Mm.
Not really that they are there. So you
Mhm.
need people there. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
you need, Tony, if I'm your employee, you need me there. You need me to own this job. You need me to
Sure.
give the best. But now, what if I'm disturbed? How do you expect me to perform? I'll just come and do things, and it's just to, let's say, like scripture said, to fulfill righteousness. But really,
Mm.
I'm doing nothing. I'm not thinking, and I'm
Mm.
not owning up my job. So,
Mhm.
and if we have quite a number of employees in that category, can you imagine how much productivity will be impacted? Can
Mm.
you imagine? Is that organization set for failure or success?
Mhm.
So the management need not be adamant and need not think employee wellness programs are expensive,
Mm.
because in the long run, it is cheaper to prevent than
To
to
cure.
cure. That,
Mm.
that that's really my take, because then we are talking about the progressiveness, the sustainability of the organization,
Mm.
the dynamics currently of internet changes everything that is changing. We
Mhm.
need people who can think very fast and
Mhm.
innovate and come up with new
Mhm.
ideas. Now, this
Mhm.
cannot happen with a disturbed mind.
Very
And
true.
for your organization to fight the competition and to deal with with everything that is changing,
Mm.
you need people who are stable and are with you and are working with you. So why not invest in some of these programs that will help? So if I have been a good employee but I'm having this challenge, there should be
Mm.
something I can run to and be
Mhm.
sorted so that I come back to work, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Like where I
Mm.
work, we have the mental health program, and it's actually deliberate. So we have
Mm.
to have deliberate actions that an employee will call me as HR and say, Martha, I feel like I need a counselor. I feel this and this and this. And when we discuss, you ask, oh, is it a counselor you will need, or do you need to take time off? So you have an understanding. And then we have a number of counselors and we have their numbers. So you just let them talk to someone, and they are sorted. All we receive is bills. We do not know what they have discussed, but you can tell someone has gone through that because you can see, oh, this person was off, but now they are back. Then you know they have gone through this thing, and you can tell the difference. Zippy, you can just see that this person has been helped. Imagine there are some who now know those numbers, so they don't even come to us to ask for a counselor. They do it by themselves. All we get is bills. And so then stability of the organization is maintained because people know what to do, how to sort themselves out if they're having personal issues or other employee issues in the workplace. So it is an impact to the organization. It gives the organization good reputation, productivity. In any case, okay, I work with an NGO, but our productivity is meeting the donors' targets.
Exactly.
And other profit-making organizations is profits. And how do you make profits with an unstable, unhealthy staff? So for me, that's why I think it is important, very important for workplace employee wellness programs. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, Martha, those are very powerful points. I like the fact that you've said it starts with the mind, the mental stress, the mental health. Obviously, if wellness involves you working in a factory, and it's basic, if there are safety issues, you've got to take care of the safety aspect. You've got to make sure that your workers are working in a safe environment. Vitizao, they are not, their computers are working well. They're working in a well-lit area, the physical environment is safe. And then now we bring in the mental aspect. So Zippy, what's your take on the importance of employee wellness in any workplace?
I think Anthony Martha has covered that very well, and I'll pick on something that she has said about sometimes employees will come to work simply because they have to put a meal on their table. And if we are not careful, what happens? Our employees become disengaged. They are there, but they're not there. And we've talked about employee engagement and what we need to do to make sure our employees are engaged, because you want employees who are excited to work for you. You want employees who are happy about their job. You want employees who value what they are doing because they believe they are adding value in the service or the product they are producing for the customer. So when we are looking at wellness, one of the benefits or one of the importance is to make sure our employees are fully engaged and they are here fully 100% with us. When that is lacking, what happens? We start realizing we are losing very good talent, and you start realizing your attrition rates start going up, which I don't think is very good for business. And what that means, it means your productivity levels could go down. It means your
Yes.
cost of doing business go up. So when you look at the advantages and the disadvantages of not having good employee wellness programs in place, you'll find it's very costly to the benefit to the business. So I would say there are a lot of good things that would come by making sure we have those programs. And those programs are not just there, but they are working. Mother has said something very simple sometimes that we take for granted, and I would encourage, organizations, let's have, some counselors, let's have, LVCT, working with us so that our employees, when they are going through a challenge, sometimes it's even a personal issue, they have somewhere they can go and get sorted out, then come back fully to work when they are ready to work, but not carrying more baggage. And I have seen this from an experience perspective. Where an employee will come to work, they have so many issues, and it can become too overwhelming, even for an HR manager who is probably a little bit equipped to handle some of these issues. So I think this
Yes.
is a very critical element or an integral part of what we do at the workplace and make sure our employees are well taken care of.
And
Okay.
maybe Zippy, I can add a bit from what Zippy has said. And if you
Yes.
look at the things that bring makes you disabled in an organization. So, like even death in a family, no more death. Let's leave alone COVID.
Mm.
So now COVID brought it to another level, Tony, where someone loses a family and then you cannot even attend their funeral.
Yes.
and and if you attend, you'll find them being buried so haphazardly. So there is the mental thing of you have lost a loved one.
Yes.
You have, and then there's this thing that you never went to the funeral for closure. And if
Mm.
you did, you watched how the people who are, those guys who are wearing white from the top
Mm.
to bottom, how they were
Yes.
handling corpses. And you
Yes.
are thinking, that's my mother, that's my father. And
Mm.
no one is taking interest in that. And
Mm.
now that has happened that day. And what happens to you from that moment onwards?
Yes.
So in
Yes.
my head, when all these things came up, I realized there have been so many drives of many additions to our HR policies and
Mm.
organization policies, the matters of diversity and inclusivity, the
Mm.
matters of many other things we have put currently we have had to add in our manuals. But
Yes.
I realized even the government needs to come up and add in the employment law,
Mm.
the need, the employment, the employee wellness programs to be
Yes.
added even in the employment law, especially the mental health part of
Aspect.
it,
Yes.
yeah? Because then until an organization feels that it's important, there's nowhere written that they need to drive that agenda.
Mm.
So I'm thinking there are some organizations like ours who are very sensitive, but
Mm.
there are some organizations that feel nothing. You
True.
can imagine
Yes.
there are some people who, because of COVID, they lost jobs. And
Yes.
today, Tony, you're working, and tomorrow you're told, so you had a big car, you had a big house, you had A, B,
Yes.
C, D, and within a day, that life has changed.
Aspect.
And
Yes.
you have your small children to address to.
Mm.
So many things that have come up. And even today, some of those people have not resumed work. Organizations have
Mm.
not recovered. What is happening to those people wherever they
Mm.
are at? And who is helping them out?
Mm.
So for me, I would say that it's a government issue. I would say that
Mm.
the government should, I mean, like the way you want to really push policy on some of these things, there
Mm.
should be a policy on mental health from the government level that is
Mm.
mandatory for organizations to take care of their employees. And if there was any channel, I would be able to voice out this.
Mm.
This is something I would want to voice out and drive change in the policy in the government,
Mm.
to have something in the labor laws concerning mental health issues and organizations, because some of them even today they still don't care, and it's a big aspect. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. I can see our time is really coming to an end. We had a few other things to discuss, but Martha, you've said something there. Even Zippy, you've brought an issue there. When it comes to government and most of these big organizations, the other day we were joking and talking about the way in the early 90s, it used to be the personnel department. Now it's shifted to a more human resources. But now you've got to understand that majority of the people who make some of these policies or institutions are still in the personnel department era in the way they look at things. I mean, there's some people who think, no, we're canceling. I mean, what are we talking about canceling? Kwani tumekuwa, are we Madhare patients? You know, we have become so soft that we need to go and confess before a priest who is now not a priest per se, but a wellness priest of sorts. So the mentality of some of these institutions, I would say government and all that, is that back in the 70s and 80s, when during the personnel management era, if you have stress, unashika sigara yako unaenda kuvutia pale nje. Go smoke the stress out and come. That's how you deal with issues. You get back to the office and we don't care about sijui kulifanyika. Get your head set right. If that is not a problem, Friday enda Karumindo, do your drowning of your sorrows. So that when you come on Monday, personnel are not interested with sijui kulienda, kulifika, those stories. Those were stories. Those were stories. So it is now that you're entering the 21st century. And again, I brought the issue of why is it important in the workplace. It's because the workplace culture and environment and understanding is evolving. Whatever was there in the 80s and 90s is not there today. You don't back. I'm sure someone like your father, Martha, or my dad, or Zippy's dad, if they were to come to the modern workplace, they'd probably think, hey, it's made of sissies. I mean, very soft. Watoto wanakuja kulialia hapa mambo sijui ya nini. Your stuff. Come when your head is sorted out. And, but you see, things have changed. It's because of increased understanding of the mental aspect that we have what we are now calling employee wellness. And the companies that have embraced this are the ones that some of the biggest companies in the world, the likes of Google and the rest. Why? Google began, for example, the issue of people working from home long before this COVID manenos took up. Okay, and as you've said, we are seeing the dynamics that are changing very, very quickly, requiring companies and executives to understand that employee wellness is a very critical aspect of brand building. It's a very important aspect of productivity. It's a very important aspect of being a preferred employer. And I like the way Zippy put it at the beginning. Even the MD is an employee. So when you're talking about employee wellness, we are talking from the managing director to all the senior executives, mid-level executives, to the junior staff. The MD also needs a shrink of sorts to go and talk to. Yeah, when the board has put pressure on him, and results are not, the results are not showing. So Zippy, what's your closing word as we close our session today?
Anthony, this is an interesting topic we are talking about today because we need to be at that place where we say, I love taking care of my employees. I love doing things that will make sure my employees are well taken care of so that they can take care of my business. So, from a management perspective, I think it's important for us to think about what do we need to do to make sure we take care of our employees, we take care of of their wellness, we take care of what that concerns them, so that they can focus on doing what we have engaged them to do. Because if we only look at it from one perspective, I've engaged you, are paying you a salary. It's no longer enough to just pay a salary, fortunately or unfortunately. It's no longer enough.
Yes.
We need to do a little bit more than just paying the salary and making sure I'm taking care of my team. I'm concerned about their welfare. I'm concerned about what's going on in their life so that they can focus their energies in performing what they should be doing. And I think that will be my takeaway today.
Okay. Martha, what's your last word?
My last word is it is important to drive this agenda from the top. As EP has said, even executive directors are also employees. Even the owners of the business, they need these things to happen. And for me, even as much as we don't know what maybe the government could be doing about this issue, it's okay to keep on voicing it out. Let's use this broadcast and educate. Education and knowledge is power.
Yes.
So, like right now, I can tell out the world that should you need any help and you don't know where to go, LVCT Health are a leader in mental health issues and guiding you and making you a better person. And it's okay to reach out and you will be held. So we have LVCT Health. I'm sure there are so many other organizations, but once we voice that this, we keep giving people knowledge, then even those organizations that don't have these initiatives, the employees
Yes.
will hear and they will reach out for help by themselves, even as we
Yes.
wait for the government to drive this agenda to ensure that all organizations make this a policy issue in their organization. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you very much, Martha. Thank you very much, Zippy. Those are very deep. You've just begun discussing this issue of employee wellness in a fresh new way. But for that, we have come to the close of our podcast today. Thank you to our panelists for taking the great insights, and to our viewers for engaging with us by hearing and listening to us. We shall continue bringing insights on this particular topic of the working environment for this month of November. We'll continue discussing on employee wellness, and you are welcome to give suggestion on, give questions, give suggestion on the same, especially because we say it's pretty wide. We're talking about the physical environment. We're talking about, creating wellness by, we'll discuss more things to do with burnouts and things like that. And if you would like to get in touch with Aurum consultants, you can get in touch with us via Facebook, via LinkedIn, and YouTube. We also have our website and email address available, and telephone numbers at the bottom of your screen. I have been your host, Anthony Kuria. I'm looking forward to next week. We discuss this matter a bit more. We talk more about the wellness and of employees and employers, to make sure that in the workplace we have people who are primed and ready and fresh to come to work, not zombies, as Martha mentioned to us as we were going on. So thank you for your time. We are truly appreciative. See you same time, same place next week. Thank you.